This week on ANN, Adventist humanitarians assist residents in Fiji in the wake of the worst storm ever recorded in nation's history.
A professor from Andrews University contributes to a scientific discovery that proves Einstein's theory of relativity.
And doctors from Loma Linda University Children's Hospital perform an unprecedented surgery on a 2-year-old dog bite victim.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church.
Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the nation of Fiji is currently under a month-long state of emergency as it recovers from the worst tropical storm to hit the South Pacific archipelago. The Category 5 Cyclone Winston struck the nation on February 20th, with winds up to 320 kilometers per hour, or nearly 200 miles per hour. The damaging winds and rains caused the deaths of at least 29 people and the forced evacuation of more than 13,000. Fiji's Prime Minister Vork Bainimarama told residents that while the storm is over, the nation still has a long way to go to reach normalcy. He said, quote, "We realize how traumatic this is for you and your families, and we ask for your patience and understanding. But as Prime Minister, I also want you to know that we will not rest until we have reached you and given you the helping hand you so badly need and deserve." End quote. Before the storm struck, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency in Australia pre-positioned thousands of supplies including water purification tablets, first aid kits, and soap, in anticipation of contaminated water sources and injuries due to the storm. ADRA International, Australia, and New Zealand are currently raising funds to address the needs of the nation's residents who are slowly recovering from devastation. Visit adra.org to learn more.
Earlier this month, a major scientific breakthrough was announced that proved a prediction made by legendary physicist Albert Einstein 100 years ago. The Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory and the National Science Foundation revealed they discovered a way to measure gravitational waves, thus supporting Einstein's theory of relativity. Tiffany Summerscales, Associate Professor of Physics at Andrews University, played a role in the 1,000-member research team that worked on the project since the year 2000. Andrews University sent this report.
When a team of scientists announced 2 weeks ago that they had heard and recorded the sound of two black holes colliding a billion light years away, they were confirming what Einstein had predicted about 100 years ago: the existence of gravitational waves which until now were undetectable.
Did you hear the chirp?
According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, mass curves spacetime. When the distribution of mass changes, the curvature must also change, and that change spreads outwards through space like the ripples on a pond. These ripples, also called gravitational waves, are very faint. Only the most catastrophic events and massive objects in the universe are capable of producing gravitational waves of measurable strength. The announcement from the LIGO, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, and the National Science Foundation was celebrated at Andrews University, where one of the LIGO scientists worked to make that a reality. Tiffany Summerscales, Associate Professor of Physics at Andrews University, is one of 1,000 researchers from various locations around the world, has been studying gravity and how to prove a theory Einstein posited a century ago. She's been working with the project since 2000 when she began her graduate research. On February 19, students and faculty gathered at Newbold Auditorium, where Dr. Summerscales shared a lecture about the first measurement of gravitational waves.
Moving around, then that curvature is going to have to change.
Yeah, this discovery just kind of points out, or it reinforces in my mind, not only how large and vast and awesome the universe is, coming also from a vast and awesome creator, but also how unexpected, how filled with surprises the universe can be. How it's arranged in a way that you wouldn't have expected. Just standing outside looking up at the stars, you can see the stars, but you wouldn't ever think just by looking at the stars that all these other things like black holes and other exciting events are going on all the time. And so this points out just what a diverse and exciting and just surprising universe God has made.
Loma Linda University's Children's Hospital last week announced that a team of its doctors successfully completed an unprecedented facial reimplantation surgery on a 2-year-old dog bite victim. The dog that attacked the toddler removed a large portion of her face from the top of her nose to the bottom of her lip, including part of her left cheek. When Mariah arrived at the hospital, doctors Nathaniel Peterson and Paul Walker acted immediately to develop a plan to replant her face. They knew attempting to replant Mariah's face was their only chance at giving her a bright future. The procedure, which took 5 hours of intensive work under a surgical microscope, was unprecedented for a patient so young. The week after the surgery, the team of specialists relied on leeches to assist with the blood flow until Mariah's veins grew back. Mariah was able to go home just 3 weeks after the accident. Aside from minimal scarring, Mariah is expected to have a full recovery. Loma Linda University Health sent this report.
We heard that she had a severe dog bite and had part of her face avulsed, and then we were able to, see pictures and determine that was her entire nose and upper lip. And it had been a number of hours since then, and so we had to determine if it was worth trying to reimplant it or not.
This is something that has to be replanted within a matter of hours, and so the decision has to be made very quickly.
And it had been within that time period, so we decided right away just to come in, Dr. Peterson and I, and get the rest of the team together to try and do this.
When Mariah went in, they said that this was a procedure that probably wasn't going to last.
You kind of have this realization that it's either going to go probably really well or really badly. If the tissue doesn't take, there's going to be basically an impossible to adequately reconstruct a defect right in the center of this person's face for the rest of their life. On the other hand, if you're able to successfully replant the tissue, it's the greatest result you could hope for.
My worst fear was getting a call, getting to the hospital, and not being able to see my daughter again.
Dr. Peterson and I worked together to put the arteries together on each side. So, he did his side, then I did my side, assisting each other. That was really key, is because of the size and the technical difficulty of it under the microscope. And then once we got it back together, our thought was, well, hopefully, this works. Like, we've done our best. Now we have to rely on leeches. We have to rely on, the intensive care unit, and hopefully this surgery will be a success.
Around 1:30, I got a message saying surgery is now over. Mariah's doing great. When I asked them how long should I expect to stay at the Ronald McDonald, they told me, in her condition, you'll probably be staying there for quite some months, probably 2 months. Expect more. And Mariah's so lucky to go home 3 weeks later.
I mean, it's remarkable.
This size of facial avulsion is very unique. Given her age and the size of the avulsion, it's one of the largest avulsion injuries successfully reimplanted in a patient this young.
This is fairly uncommon, and just the nature of the injury is also quite uncommon. It's really the first that I've heard of in the United States.
She really is doing well, and I start back in the office, and that's just great, because that's what you really want. You want her to just be able to get back to being a kid.
We knew if this worked, then she would be, make such a difference in her life. It's hard to imagine what she'd be like without it working compared to what it is now. There's some things she's going to have to deal with scarring and things, but compared to having your whole nose and your whole lip gone, it's just a remarkable difference. And so to have that work and to be a part of that, it's just very rewarding.
Replanting Mariah's facial tissue is definitely the most intrinsically rewarding case that I've ever done.
I think that it just makes us feel the joy why we actually went into medicine, to help others, and especially small children. Without individuals or corporations that support the Children's Hospital, this certainly wouldn't have been possible.
The nurses, the doctors, everybody that helped her out, I'm very thankful for every little thing they did for her. They got done so fast, and the outcome is so amazing. I think Loma Linda is the best hospital that any parent can ask for. She's home and she's perfectly healthy.
To watch the full video, visit youtube.com, then search Patient Story Mariah Solomon.
Ted Wilson, president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, recently concluded travels that took him through the Middle East. During his tour, he spent time in the nation of Israel to encourage Adventist members to keep up the faith in Jesus. Williams Costa Jr., communication director for the denomination, who accompanied Wilson during the Middle Eastern tour, prepared this report on their time in Israel.
Shalom! 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 Shalom!
The most common greeting among Jewish people is Shalom. Israel is located in a troubled region full of conflicts, wars, and instability. For this reason, it makes complete sense that people greet saying Shalom, which means peace. For several millennia, Jewish people keep the Sabbath like the Seventh-day Adventists. When the sun sets on Friday, God's holy day, the most common greeting among the Jewish is
Shabbat Shalom! Shabbat Shalom! Shabbat Shalom! Shabbat Shalom! Shabbat Shalom!
A peaceful Sabbath was God's gift to the Seventh-day Adventists that live in Israel. Almost 700 Israeli brothers and sisters were blessed with a beautiful sunny day.
It is primarily to try and encourage our members that we are here, to bring them a feeling that they are part of a world church, that they are part of the Advent movement.
Gathered at the YMCA auditorium in Jerusalem, congregants enjoyed peace and the blessings of a special Sabbath.
It is so essential here in Israel that our church members feel that support from around the world.
Choirs and instrumental groups praise God through music. Testimonies and reports inspired the audience, and the congregation sang with emotion and enthusiasm. During the divine service, Pastor Ted Wilson, president of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church, preached on building on God's church with parallels to Nehemiah and the reconstruction of Jerusalem's walls.
We praise God for the truth that God has given to us to share to others.
Every member here in Israel needs to feel that they're part of God's great team. They cannot come down from the wall. They're doing a great work, and God intends to use them in total member involvement, revival and reformation, helping them to point people here in Israel to the coming of the wonderful Messiah, His second return, Jesus Christ our Lord.
By God's mercy, the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Israel has almost 800 followers. They gather in 21 churches and groups under the leadership of 7 pastors. Despite the challenges and limitations, the church is consolidated in this part of the world. It moves ahead by faith, believing in God's protection and the guidance of the Holy Spirit. From Israel to ANN, Adventist News Network, Shalom.
There is a major leadership transition taking place at Hope Channel, the official broadcast network of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Williams Costa Jr. sat down with Brad Thorpe, president of Hope Channel, to find out more.
Brad, during 22 years you have been serving the Hope Channel, and now you are taking a decision to go into a different direction. Why?
Well, 22 years is a long time in one position, and God has abundantly blessed. We've seen tremendous growth. We have the 43 channels, 41 languages being broadcast. It's time for new and younger leadership to take over and to take this to a new level. Secondly, the network is technically well established with our new broadcast center. There's a foundation that has been established. And thirdly, as we have now established the 43 channels around the world and 6 more in development, we have now channels operating full-time for the major languages of the world. And so it's now time to expand Hope Channel far beyond what it is now, and I think younger leaders are better.
What are your future plans? I know your heart for the mission, but what are you dreaming now?
Well, first of all, we'd like to have something a little bit less intense than what we've had for the past years. Pastor Wilson, the president of the World Seventh Adventist Church, is proposing some plans for our future ministry. This is not a retirement, this is a continuation. And so we're looking at some new opportunities for potentially some greater expanded evangelism than we've ever had before, utilizing all the different medias that are available. So I'm excited as I look forward to the future, because I believe God has even greater things in store for the ministry that we might have the privilege of being part of.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you.
Coming up, learn how an Adventist center in Korea helped multicultural families bring in the Lunar New Year holiday.
But up next, learn what motivated more than 500 Adventist youth and young adults to ride their bicycles while carrying messages of hope through Mexico City.
My brother's unexpected death shocked me into changing my life. A friend of mine said, "Why don't you do a triathlon?" So I swam and rode and ran until I discovered life is more than just human strength. I race because my health matters. I believe because my faith matters. I'm Ed, I'm a Christian. I am an Ironman, and I've discovered my whole life matters.
Welcome back. And now we have more news from our global church community.
More than 500 Adventist youth of all ages in Mexico capital city recently hopped on their bikes to spread a message of hope and health throughout the city. The young people passed out books, magazines, and free online gift cards as they rode nearly 34 kilometers or 21 miles. Enoch Ramirez, Seventh-day Adventist Youth Ministries leader for the territory, who also organized the event, shared his motivation behind the cycling outreach. He said, quote, "We wanted to mobilize our young people, their friends, and our Young at Heart members to be active and take part in new and attractive ways to witness in this great city." According to Ramirez, the youth distributed more than 2,000 copies of the book, Steps to Christ, passed out 6,000 information cards to people who expressed interest in online Bible studies, and shared tips on how to live a healthy life. Due to the popularity among the young participants, local church leaders are planning to coordinate similar cycling initiatives throughout the year.
In Korea, the Adventist Church's Multicultural Family Service Center in the city of Ansan held a community outreach event in honor of the nation's Lunar New Year holiday earlier this month. The center held special events which were designed for multicultural families and foreign workers. The center's fashion show event showcased clothing items made by visitors who participated in a 3-month course which was held at the center. The fashion show was an opportunity for guests to display their creativity and their cultures, and for some to discover their hidden talents of fashion design. The center also held its 4th multicultural cooking contest, which was supported by Ansan Migrant Community Service Center, run by the Korean government. 10 teams from Cambodia, Russia, China, Uzbekistan, and Bangladesh used the opportunity to show off dishes from their countries of origin. Kim Young-soo, director of the center, said, quote, "I hope these events brought enjoyment to immigrants and foreign workers who could not spend the holidays in their home countries, and that everyone had a good time with one another." End quote. The Multicultural Family Service Center was established 7 years ago to help families and workers who suffer from fraud, delayed payment of wages, assault, and alienation. The center's aim is to help them live happier lives and ultimately to share God's love through different activities.
A group of Adventist women in northern Norway have organized a language class for refugees who have migrated to their community. The Media Center for the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Norway sent this report.
In the far north of Norway, in the city of Vadsø, a small group of Adventists are helping some of the many refugees from Syria and Iran in a very practical way. In their local church, they have organized a language school for foreigners. Every class begins with a quote from the Bible, but it will take a while before these refugees know enough to read the Bible in Norwegian themselves. On the very first evening, the language students learn some very useful sentences like, "Where do you come from?" and the correct answer. The Norwegian language has several sounds that are not familiar for these people, and it is important to know how to pronounce letters that sound similar but are distinct.
Den ikke O. Nei. U. O. U.
The ladies in the Vadsø Church know that the ability to speak the local language is an important key to success in any new country. They find it rewarding to be able to help these refugees. And the refugees themselves are very grateful for the help they receive at the local Adventist church.
Find out what happened this week in Adventist history.
But up next, find out which types of fatty foods you can eat on a regular basis.
Researchers have found that at ages 9 and 11, more than 90% of children met the recommended levels of moderate to vigorous physical activity recommended for children. By age 15, however, only 31% met the recommended level on weekdays and 17% met the recommended level on weekends. The researchers estimated that physical activity declined by about 40 minutes per day each year. That's a fact. But there's hope. Even walking for as few as 15 minutes a day provides health benefits. If your children do not exercise often, encourage family activities like bike riding, hiking, playing ball, or swimming. Planning active family events will keep your entire family fit and healthy.
During communism, corporal punishment, it was just the thing to do. That meant I have to put my hands out, and I would get so many hits on my hands that instead of having the dip, it was puffing out. I would pray that God would keep me safe. My name is Adrian, and my prayer was answered.
Did you know there are certain fatty foods that are good for you?
In fact, healthy fats like olive oil can help fight high cholesterol. Find out more in this week's episode of Live It.
What comes to mind when you think of the Mediterranean? Perhaps a pristine Italian coastline, or a dream vacation destination. Or how about food? The Mediterranean diet has many health benefits that can lower our risk for heart disease.
It's a sobering reality that 1 in every 4 deaths in America is a result of heart disease. One of the main risk factors is having high cholesterol. Cholesterol is a waxy, fat-like substance, and when your body makes too much of it, it can build up on the walls of your arteries. This buildup restricts the amount of blood and oxygen carried throughout your body and can result in a stroke, heart attack, or other forms of heart disease.
Eating a traditional Mediterranean diet lowers our risk for heart disease.
The traditional Mediterranean diet is legumes and vegetables, whole grains, fruits, nuts, olive oil instead of butter and other types of fat, small amounts of dairy products, and small amounts of meat.
The Mediterranean diet has many health benefits because it contains high amounts of antioxidants, protein, and omega-3s.
That you should shift from avoiding fats entirely to adding healthy fats into your diet that fight bad cholesterol.
To get the good unsaturated fats, substitute olive oil, nuts, and seeds, as well as avocados, into your diet. You can use olive oil for salad dressings, stir fry, make desserts, or replace butter by dipping your bread in olive oil.
The fats in olive oil are mostly monounsaturated, which help lower cholesterol.
The second tip is eat more legumes like beans, lentils, and garbanzos. A traditional Mediterranean food like hummus is made from garbanzo beans and oil from whole sesame seeds. Try adding hummus to your next sandwich, or use it as a dip for pita bread, carrot sticks, and other vegetables.
The third tip is to eat more nuts and seeds like almonds and walnuts. One thing you can try is instead of having a candy dish on the table, fill it with almonds. This way, as you and your family members walk by, you'll pick up a quick and healthy snack. There's your tip for the day on how you can live healthier longer.
To learn more about Live It, Loma Linda University Health's online health show, and to watch past episodes, visit liveitlomalinda.org.
And finally, for today's program, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, learn about the elections during the church's 30th General Conference session, which took place in 1893.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. February 21, 1893 was the 5th day of the 30th General Conference session held in Battle Creek. The 130 delegates re-elected Ola Olson as president on that day, but they also chose a new secretary and treasurer. At the age of 38, Leroy T. Nicola became the 7th man to serve as General Conference secretary, while Harmon Lindsay became treasurer for the second time, having previously served nearly 20 years before. Lindsay then served another 4 years, but was criticized by Ellen White for treating church finances like a secular business. On February 21, 1961, the Instituto Gran Pará, or Gran Pará Adventist Academy, was officially opened in Belém, Brazil. Its creation was the result of efforts by missionary H.E. Walker, then education director of the North Brazil Union Mission, who saw the need for an Adventist secondary school in the Amazon region. The first principal was Claudomiro Fonseca. And on February 22, 1885, Carl Anton Fernstrom was baptized after attending evangelistic meetings conducted by John G. Mattison. Fernstrom became a colporteur, but 5 years later he was ordained to the gospel ministry. And for the next 50 years, he served as pastor of the Adventist church in the town of Gritshed. Fernstrom, however, also traveled the country during this time, from north to south, mostly walking, which took him through many villages and towns of Sweden, where he preached the gospel and the third angel's message. Carl Anton Fernstrom died in 1944, aged 92, having only retired from ministry at age 88. That was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, join our global conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can connect with Adventists worldwide through more stories, photos, and videos. Visit Facebook/Adventist News, Twitter @Adventist Church, and Instagram @Adventist Church.
Our good news for this week comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 3. The passage says, "Commit your actions to the Lord, and your plans will succeed."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.